It's my honor to open the ceremony for the Ethiopian Jews who perished on their way to Israel, which is an official Memorial Day here in the state of Israel. During this period, we have a lot of holidays and festivals and memorials in the state of Israel. We began with Passover, our festival of freedom. We then went on to observe Holocaust Day, where we observe the fact that 1,000 of the Jews in the world perished. We then, unfortunately, hold a Memorial Day here in Israel for the very many thousands of IDF soldiers who have fallen in battle. And we have a plaque here, a few meters from here on campus, where many of our alumni are mentioned on that plaque who fell in action. We afterwards observe Independence Day. And now we are observing the Memorial Day for those Ethiopian Jews who perished on their way to Israel when the mass aliyah began between 1980 and 1984 from Gondar, with those long travels and journeys into Sudan, where these Jews suffered from disease and hunger and harassment, rape. They suffered from violence. They walked for months until the state of Israel launched Operation Moses, and these wonderful Jewish people managed to make it to the shores of Israel. But they suffered a lot, and we need to remember that suffering. In 1989, the state of Israel decided that a memorial day in memory of these Ethiopian Jews who perished shall take place every month of Iyar here in the state of Israel. We've brought you all of the other festivals and holidays through Zoom. We're doing the same thing here because we don't want to forget. We're extremely proud of the fact that many of the grandchildren of those individuals who fled from Ethiopia are now studying at IDC Herzliya. There are dozens of them. These are a new generation of Ethiopians who, based on the Zionism and based on the values of their grandparents and their parents, are now contributing to Israeli society. They learned their characteristics of leadership and initiative and independence and love of Zion and love of the state of Israel. They learned this love of Israel from their grandparents and from their parents. And unfortunately, thousands of their grandparents and uncles and aunts and others couldn't make it through that journey. But those dozens of students at IDC Herzliya have managed to translate the dream of their forefathers into reality here on campus. And we're very proud of those students. I'm very pleased that Rabbi and Dr. Sharon Shalom, who, by the way, speaks English, Yiddish, Amharic, Ge'ez, Hebrew, and German. I'm very pleased that Rabbi Shalom Sharon will now be addressing you on this very important subject. Thank you.
Shalom, Yom Yerushalayim Sameach, Happy Yom Yerushalayim. Couple years ago, I remember, in Washington, I took a taxi, and the taxi driver was African American. And he showed me with my kippah. He was in shock. He screamed, "Where are you from?" And I answered, "I'm from Israel." "Really? Have a black people in Israel?" And I answered, "Of course." And another occasion in New York, I also took a taxi. And the taxi driver, he was someone from Afghanistan, what's called a turban in his hand. He also saw me with my kippah. He was in shock. And he thought that I am probably Muslim, non-Jewish. And he began to speak with me with Arabic language. Salam alaikum. And I answer in Arabic, alaikum as-salam, because I spent 1 year in Sudan. And I answer in Arabic, salam alaikum. Min wen inta? And I answer, anna sakin Israel. He was in shock. Now, he thought that I am not only Muslim, I'm also Palestinian. Wow! It was trouble. You know, Jewish people, State of Israel, stand behind American, and they control everything. But he was in shock. Here also, when one day I went to teach classroom in Israel, and my teacher, he told me, Sharon, be careful. Because the student here in Israel, they can eat you without salt. They very dangerous. And I prepare myself well. When I entered to the classroom, all the students sit, no one move. I was in shock. You know, I feel better, and I told myself that I'm amazing teacher. I give to myself compliment, and suddenly someone, he raised his hand and asked me, are you basketball player? I said, no, I'm not basketball player. Are you from America? No. But here, you know, by the way, I remember also when I went to teach a classroom, and I told them that Ethiopian Jews, they are descendants of 10 tribes, Dan, and we are Jewish. And she was also in shock. And I asked why. She said, because you black. First of all, I answer, I'm not black, I'm brown. But she asked me a stupid question, very stupid question, because, and I answered to her stupid question, stupid answer. I told her that, you know why I am a little brown? Because in Mount Sinai, when God gave us the Bible, Ethiopian Jews, they run very fast, and they stand very close to the mountain. So the fire and the smoke dark our skin. And you are Ashkenazi, where you stand in Mount Sinai? There is no doubt that Ethiopian Jews, they are descendants. We are Jewish from the ancient time. And this lecture, this is for Memorial Day. Several years ago, Israel established an official Memorial Day for some 4,000 Ethiopian Jews who died on their way to Israel. This day is symbolically set for Jerusalem Day. I remember when we were in Ethiopia, my grandfather, he used to sit with us under a shady tree, and he telling us stories about Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, everyone is Jewish. In Jerusalem, there is no problems, like paradise. And he read for us from the Bible. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord will set his hand against the second time to recover the remnant of his people that shall remain from Assyria and from Egypt and from Patros and from Cush, a specific reference to Ethiopia. And he told us that one day all of us we will be in Jerusalem. Ask him, Grandpa, where God he going to fulfill his promise? And Grandpa, he used to answer to me, you know, when? Now. When I grow up, I understand that his grandfather also promised to him now. When I grow up, more I understand that each generation promised to the other generation now, during 3,000 or 2,000 years of exile. And I used to say that if Ethiopian telling you now, don't believe him. And secondly, don't believe to big philosopher Nietzsche, which he told us, which hope is an illusion. Hope is not an illusion. Hope is reality. And this is what keep Ethiopian Jews during 2,000 years of exile. Hope, dream to Jerusalem, that in one day we'll be in Jerusalem. I remember in one occasion that my grandfather, he told us about Jerusalem. And I asked, Grandpa, where is Jerusalem? And he answered by pointing in its direction like this. I remember it well. And early the next morning, my friend and me, we left our village without telling a soul and running in the direction toward which my grandfathers had pointed. Like crazy people. 2 kids, around 7 years and 9 years, in Africa, in Ethiopia, around us, animals, tigers, all the kind of animals in Africa. And we running to Jerusalem, to the dream. We just kept on going, never stopping to look back. Go, keep going, and never stop. Hoping to find Jerusalem. On each hill we climb. Of course, we got lost, and we were later arrested on suspicion of spying for anti-government rebels. And 3 days later, we have returned to our village. Half a year later, the Mossad instructed us to come immediately to Sudan country. By the way, I forgot to tell you. I remember when we used to say stock, fly from in the sky, we use to scream and say, "Are, are, 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 Shimela, Shimela, Agerachin Jerusalem dena." It means, stock, please, send our warm message to Jerusalem. And finally, the time after 2,000 years of exile arrived, and we left our village to Sudan country. The trek took 2.5 months, and we lost many of our dear ones on the way. About 4,000 people who did not live to trade the soul of Jerusalem. The story is too long to be told in full at the present, but I like to tell you what happened to me in Sudan after I left my parents. The Mossad brought us to the Red Sea, and I remember that one night a woman By the way, in one truck we were for 150 people. And the woman gave birth, son on the way, and when we reached the shore, we heard a loud noise that frightened us. Once we got off the truck, the noise grew even louder. We looked around, fearing for our life, but then realized that the noise came from the sea itself. I had never seen the sea before. You know, to see the waves coming at you without realizing that the waves stop at the shore is crazy. But suddenly, from the sea, they came people like angels. They come to us, and they were naval commando of State of Israel. And they embraced me, and they kissed me, and I feel more confident. The soldiers put us in the rubber boat and brought us to the ship. But we had no idea where we were. All we know was that we were in a vast hall full of light and music, with people applauding and showering us with candles. Instinctively, we prostrated ourselves and kissed the deck, believing that we were in Jerusalem itself. This was truly supernatural experience. Sometimes after we had arrived in Israel, we were invited to reunion for Olim and soldiers. The commando told us that they too began to cry when they first saw us in Sudan. Can you imagine? A fighter, a naval commando, a tough guy, the last person you would expect to be sentimental, embracing a strange child and starting to weep? Of course not, but we were two brothers who were once of the flesh, separated for 2,000 years, who then embraced and reunited. I remember, from the ship, from the Red Sea, they took us to the Sharm el-Sheikh. From the Sharm el-Sheikh, we arrived to Ben Gurion Airport. In Ben Gurion Airport, I got a new name, because my name was Zode, and now I got a new name. My name changed to be Sharon. And from the airport, they took us to Afula city. By the way, for Ethiopian Jews, all Israel is Jerusalem. Even if you live in Afula, in Tel Aviv, in Herzliya, you still live in Jerusalem. They tell a story, this is a really story, that soon after Operation Moses, the spiritual leaders of the Ethiopian Jewish community, the Kaisim, were invited on tour of Jerusalem. The last stop of the day was the Western Wall Plaza. One case raised his hand and asked, "Where is Jerusalem?" Jacob, the Jewish identity guy, answered, "We have been in Jerusalem all day, and now we are at the Western Wall." The case then asked, "And where is the temple?" Jacob pointed towards the temple mount. At that moment, they all fell to the ground, protesting themselves and crying like children. The journey here among Israeli society is more and more difficult, more than my journey from Ethiopia to Eretz Israel. It's not easy. It's not easy. But I want to tell you that my love to the Israeli society is my secret. to found myself when I arrive here, when I arrive to Eretz Israel. And I don't know how to use the bathroom. And I don't know how to brush my teeth. But I study from zero. And now I found myself, I am today rabbi in a Holocaust survivor community. And I'm also teaching in academic. I think this story is not only my story, personal story. This story is the story of State of Israel. And State of Israel is miracle, but also is reality. And 2,000 years of exile, 2,000 years ago, the second temple was destruction because people, they fled from the others. People, they don't care about the others. There is no solidarity. And I think that today, Jewish people, state in Israel, Jewish, non-Jewish, secular, non-secular, left and right, black and white, and each one live here in State of Israel. So the story of the Aliyah of the Ethiopian community can serve as positive example of the modern Jewish solidarity. The solidarity and the love of fellow Israeli regardless of where each of us came from. It is the secret of our people's continue and survival throughout the generation and the existence and success of the State of Israel today. I want to close in with the Midrash, his story. A father and his son were wandering in a desert, and the son asked his father, "When will we reach a city?" The father answered, "When you see a cemetery, this is a sign that you may know that the city is nearby. When we look back, we can say that we have left behind us a great many cemeteries filled with the graves of special people, men and women of faith. We still continue burying our dead and our soldiers, but we must always remember that in their days they granted us our life. What then is our obligation? I think our obligation is solidarity. That after Ethiopian Aliyah, the State of Israel has become a living museum of Judaism, Jewish and non-Jewish. That the miracle of the Medinat Israel today is without a doubt that the fact that Israeli is country full of the different types of people or different types of color or different custom. On any one street, there can be 5 different shuls from 5 different tradition. And in a business meeting, one can hear Hebrew being spoken from the different accent, Arabic, everything. So, Yom Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim Day, is to remember all people that died in the way, that in their days they give us our life. Thank you very much.